On August 14, 1900,
the year of the Boxer Uprising.
During the suppression of the ihetuani uprising, coalition troops captured the capital of the Qing Empire, Beijing, and lifted the siege from the embassy quarter. The uprising began in November 1899. The imperial troops sent to suppress it were defeated by the rebels or hastily retreated. Against the background of a dangerous situation, foreign diplomatic missions in Beijing requested troops from their metropolises for their protection. Sailors and marines from ships stationed off the coast of China, 75 French, 74 Russians, 63 Americans, 50 Germans, 28 Italians, and 25 Japanese, arrived in the embassy quarter. By the end of May, the majority of foreigners and many Chinese Christians moved to the territory of the ambassador quarter. But the detachment that was to fight numbered only 450 men. It was headed by the English envoy Claude MacDonald. On June 5, 1900, the ihetuani entered Beijing, and the situation in the city began to escalate. Minor conflicts on the streets of the city became more frequent. Then it became known that the Chinese troops went over to the side of the rebels, and the Qing government concluded a secret agreement with them for joint actions against foreigners. On June 13, 20 German soldiers attacked the idol, where the rebels were performing their mysteries, and killed 7 Chinese, which finally provoked the ihetuanians to begin massacres and storm foreign outposts in Beijing. The next day, the Austrian embassy was burned, then the Dutch mission was destroyed. On June 20, the German ambassador Ketteler was killed, after which fierce battles began near all the embassies. Some embassies were even taken over by the Chinese. However, the Russian and American missions were soon repulsed, while the Austrian and Italian missions remained in the hands of the rebels. The corpses of the slain ihetuanians, lying in abundance around them, were not cleaned for a long time and began to decompose. Soon the initiative began to pass into the hands of the besieged. Increasingly, they made daring sorties, inflicting sensitive damage on the besiegers. On July 17, the Chinese announced a truce that lasted a week. Representatives of the Qing government repeatedly visited the besieged embassies, inviting them to leave Beijing. The Chinese brought gifts and treats, including from the Empress Cixi herself, who was finally convinced of the powerlessness of the ihetuani before the troops of the Western countries. However, she did not lose hope to get out of this situation without losing face. At the court, the struggle of groups that advocated peace or war with foreigners intensified. As a result, it was not clear whether the Qing government was fighting against foreigners or defending them. The shelling alternated with gifts. Decrees ordering the expelling of the barbarians were replaced by orders to protect missions and compensate them for material losses. In July in Beijing, more than 100 people were executed for belonging to secret societies, while some of the major Chinese dignitaries who opposed the war with foreigners were also executed. In early August, in connection with the approach of the coalition forces to Beijing, fighting intensified, but it was clear to everyone that the siege would soon be lifted. On August 7, it became known that the former governor of the Zhili province had been removed. This territory adjoined the capital of the empire, and the positions of the ihetuanians were especially strong here. The new governor was Li Hongzhang, who was an opponent of the ihetuan. Throughout the night of August 13, the Chinese attacked desperately, trying to take the missions by storm, but in vain. On the morning of August 14, the defenders of the ambassadorial quarter counterattacked the Chinese positions towards the advancing coalition forces. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, their vanguards approached the ambassador quarter. The siege was lifted. The total losses of the international detachment defending the embassies in the 2 months of the siege amounted to 75 killed and 170 wounded. Beijing was occupied by coalition forces. The assault was accompanied by plunder and looting, including the Forbidden City, the residence of the emperor. After that, the Allies vied with each other to accuse each other of unbridled barbarism and savagery. As a result of hostilities, a special, final protocol was concluded. The first paragraph of which the Qing government was obliged to apologize to Germany and erect a monument to the murdered ambassador at the place of his death. Prince Chun, father of the last Emperor Puyi, traveled to Germany as ambassador extraordinary to express Emperor Guangxu's regret over von Ketteler's death to Kaiser Wilhelm II. Pei Fang or Memorial Gate, called the Ketteler Memorial, German
Ketteler-Denkmal,
was erected exactly at the place of the death of the diplomat. Work on the gate began on June 25, 1901 and was completed on January 8, 1903. On November 13, 1918, 2 days after Germany signed the Compiègne Armistice with the Allies, which meant Germany's inability to continue to fight in World War I, the Ketteler Memorial was officially abolished. But why is it so late? After all, China had fought on the side of the Entente since 1917. Not surprising, because until the last months of the war there was a feeling in the world that Germany was winning. In the following 1919, the gate was moved to the modern Zhongshan Park and renamed Victory Gate of Justice, in Chinese,
公理战胜牌坊.
In 1953, on the occasion of the Asia-Pacific Peace Conference in Beijing, the complex was again renamed the Peace Gate, and has survived to this day. Based on the story of the siege of the Embassy Quarter, American director Nicholas Ray made the epic film 55 Days at Peking.
Against the never-before-seen canvas of China, with all its mystery and adventure.
The film was nominated for an Oscar. Dmitry Tyomkin, Best Song and Best Music. But he was not destined to receive the 5th gold statuette in his career.